Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Take a moment and look around you. Maybe you just grabbed a coffee, scrolled through your phone, or are thinking about what to have for dinner. Our daily routines feel so normal, so modern. But what if I told you that some of the things we do every day, like grabbing fast food, brushing our teeth, or even complaining about our neighbors, have bizarre and fascinating parallels in the ancient world? Today, we're peeling back the layers of time to uncover 20 everyday facts from ancient life that sound completely made up, but are 100% true. So grab a snack, preferably not a stale bread plate, and let's step back in time. First up, let's talk about fast food. Think you're a genius for grabbing a burrito on your lunch break? The ancient Romans beat you to it by about 2,000 years. The streets of cities like Rome and Pompeii were lined with thousands of thermopolia. These were basically ancient fast food joints. They were small storefronts with L-shaped counters that had large clay pots, or dolia, embedded in them. These pots kept food like lentils, stewed meats, cheese, and spiced wine hot and ready to serve. Most Roman apartments, or insula, didn't have private kitchens, so grabbing a quick hot meal on the go wasn't a luxury. It was a daily necessity for the working class. It was the original grab-and-go culture. Now, imagine getting your paycheck not in cash, but in beer. Sounds like a college student's dream, right? Well, for the laborers who built the magnificent pyramids and temples of ancient Egypt, it was reality. Records show that workers were paid in rations, and a significant part of that payment was beer. We're not talking about a six-pack at the end of the week. We're talking about 4 to 5 liters per day. This beer was thick, nutritious, and calorie-rich, more like a liquid bread than the light lagers we know today. It was a staple of their diet and a practical way to keep the workforce energized and hydrated. So next time you enjoy a cold one after a long day, just remember you're taking part in a tradition thousands of years old. Okay. This next one might make you wrinkle your nose. How did the Vikings, known for their surprisingly good hygiene, keep their clothes bright and clean? The answer is fermented fish urine. Yes, you heard that right. Vikings would collect urine, let it sit for weeks to ferment, and then use the resulting ammonia to bleach their linens and remove stubborn stains. Ammonia is a powerful cleaning agent, and they figured out a way to produce it naturally. It just happened to be the most pungent way imaginable. While they were known for their meticulously crafted combs and grooming habits, their laundry day must have been an olfactory adventure. Let's move from smelly laundry to, well, no clothes at all. When you hear the word gym, you probably picture treadmills, weights, and people in athletic wear. But in ancient Greece, the gym was a very different scene. The word gymnasium actually comes from the Greek word gymnos, which means naked. Athletes trained and competed completely in the nude. This was done for a few reasons. It was seen as a tribute to the gods, it allowed for complete freedom of movement, and it was considered a mark of purity and democratic equality. No one could show off their wealth with fancy clothes. So next time you feel self-conscious at the gym, just be glad clothes are mandatory. What about dental hygiene? We have minty gels and electric toothbrushes. The ancient Egyptians, they had a more abrasive approach. One popular recipe for toothpaste involved a mixture of crushed rock salt, mint, dried iris flowers, and pepper. Another, more gnarly recipe used crushed eggshells, ashes from burnt ox hooves, and myrrh. You'd mix it into a paste and rub it on your teeth. It probably felt like scrubbing your mouth with sand, but hey, they were trying. It shows that a bright smile has been a desirable trait for millennia, even if the methods were a bit rough. Speaking of personal routines, let's discuss something we all take for granted: privacy in the bathroom. In ancient Rome, toilets were a public affair. Large communal latrines featured long stone or marble benches with a series of keyhole-shaped openings. You'd simply sit down next to your neighbor and do your business while having a chat. And for cleanup, no toilet paper. Instead, they used a xylospongium, a natural sea sponge attached to a stick. The worst part? It was shared. After use, it would be rinsed in a channel of running water or a bucket of salt water and vinegar and left for the next person. Suddenly, that single-ply toilet paper at the office doesn't seem so bad, does it? Now you'd think after the communal toilets, a nice hot bath would be in order. But in medieval Europe, that wasn't the case. While the Romans loved their bathhouses, many people in the Middle Ages actively avoided bathing. Doctors at the time believed that hot water opened the pores, making the body vulnerable to bad air and diseases like the plague. So, instead of washing, the wealthy would douse themselves in heavy perfumes and change their linen undergarments frequently, as the linen was thought to absorb sweat and grime. Cleanliness was more about appearances and fresh-smelling fabrics than actually washing your body. Let's head back to Egypt, where aesthetics met medicine. The iconic kohl eyeliner worn by ancient Egyptians wasn't just for looks. Modern scientific analysis of makeup found in ancient tombs has revealed that it contained lead-based salts. Now, lead is usually bad news, but in very low concentrations, these salts would have stimulated the immune system to produce nitric oxide, which helps fight off the bacterial eye infections that were rampant along the Nile. So, their famous cat eye look was not only a fashion statement, but also a form of preventative medicine. Talk about makeup with benefits. From makeup to dessert. Think ice cream is a modern treat? Think again. The origins of a frozen dessert go back over 4,000 years to ancient China. The elite would enjoy a creamy, frozen concoction made from a mixture of milk, overcooked rice, and spices, which was then packed in snow to freeze. Marco Polo is often credited with bringing the idea to Italy, but the Chinese were way ahead of the curve. It wasn't the scoop of Rocky Road we know today, but it was the world's first ice cream-like dish. We express ourselves on social media, but where did ancient people post their thoughts? On the walls. The ruins of Pompeii are a treasure trove of ancient graffiti. And it wasn't just Caesar was here. People scribbled everything. Love poems, political endorsements, crude jokes, advertisements for taverns, and even restaurant reviews. One inscription complains, "We have wet the bed, host. I confess we have done wrong. If you want to know why, there was no chamber pot." It's a raw, unfiltered look into their daily lives, proving that people have always wanted to make their voices heard, even if it meant carving it into a wall. Chewing gum for fresh breath? That's another ancient habit. The Aztecs, long before Wrigley's, chewed on chicle, the sap from the sapodilla tree. It was mainly used to freshen breath and clean the teeth. Unmarried women and children could chew it in public, but for married women and men, it was considered a private at-home activity. It's funny to think that the simple act of chewing gum was once governed by social rules. How did the ancients wake up on time without a smartphone alarm? The Greek philosopher Plato invented one of the first known alarm clocks around 400 BC. It was a complex water clock, or clepsydra, that he designed to wake his students for early morning lectures. It worked by having water drip from one vessel to another, and when the second vessel filled up, it would force air through a tube, creating a loud whistling sound. It was a brilliant piece of engineering, all to stop his students from hitting the ancient snooze button. When we think of firefighters, we picture brave heroes. In ancient Rome, the first organized firefighting brigade, the Vigiles Urbani, was established by Emperor Augustus. They patrolled the streets at night to prevent fires and also acted as a police force. But here's the twist. A large number of these firefighters were actually slaves. They were promised their freedom after a certain number of years of service. It was a dangerous job, and it highlights how Roman society relied on enslaved labor for even the most essential public services. Imagine going to a dinner party where the plates are edible. In medieval Europe, this was common. Wealthy households served stews and meats on trenchers, which were thick rectangular slices of stale bread. The bread would soak up all the juices from the food. After the meal, the rich might give the soggy trenchers to their servants or to the poor waiting outside. If you were really hungry, you might just eat your plate. It was the ultimate zero-waste dining experience. We love our pets, and so did the ancient Egyptians. In fact, they took their love for animals to a whole other level. When a beloved pet, especially a cat, passed away, the entire family would go into mourning and shave their eyebrows as a sign of grief. The pet would then be mummified, wrapped in linen and buried in a dedicated animal cemetery with its own tiny sarcophagus. Archaeologists have found entire catacombs filled with millions of mummified cats, as well as dogs, monkeys, birds, and even crocodiles, all buried with ceremonial care. Let's return to the Vikings. Besides their unique laundry methods, they were obsessed with grooming. One of the most common artifacts found in Viking graves and settlements isn't a sword or an axe, but a comb. They were often made from bone or antler and were carried by both men and women. Being clean and well-groomed was a sign of status and self-respect, so the image of a dirty, disheveled Viking is largely a myth. They were more likely to be combing their beards than pillaging with messy hair. Why do Roman ruins like the Colosseum and the Pantheon still stand today? The secret is in their concrete. The Romans created a revolutionary building material by mixing volcanic ash, lime, and seawater. This mixture created a chemical reaction that made the concrete incredibly durable. In fact, unlike modern concrete, which erodes over time, Roman concrete actually becomes stronger when exposed to the elements, especially seawater. Their engineering was so advanced that modern scientists are still studying it to create more sustainable building materials. Feeling stressed or anxious? An ancient Greek doctor might have prescribed you a dose of music. The Greeks, particularly followers of Pythagoras, believed that music could restore harmony to the soul. They developed a form of music therapy, using specific melodies and rhythms played on instruments like the lyre to treat a range of ailments, from anxiety and depression to physical pain. They understood that sound had a profound effect on the human mind and body, an idea we're rediscovering in modern wellness today. How do you keep ice frozen in the middle of a blazing hot desert? The ancient Persians figured it out with a brilliant invention called the yakchal. These were enormous cone-shaped structures made of a special mortar that was completely water-resistant and provided massive insulation. During the winter, they would bring in ice from nearby mountains or freeze water in channels outside. The conical shape and underground storage space used natural airflow to keep the interior freezing cold, preserving ice and food all through the scorching summer. It was an ancient refrigerator powered by ingenious design. And for our final fact, let's talk about some ancient bling. The Mayans didn't just build incredible pyramids, they also practiced sophisticated dentistry for cosmetic purposes. To show off their wealth and social status, the elite would have skilled artisans drill small holes into their front teeth and inlay them with precious stones like jade, turquoise, or pyrite. This wasn't for dental health. It was pure fashion. It was a painful, permanent way to get a sparkling smile that literally showed everyone how important you were. And there you have it. 20 glimpses into the weird, wonderful, and surprisingly familiar world of our ancestors. It just goes to show that while our technology has changed, the fundamental human experience of eating, cleaning, working, and showing off hasn't changed all that much. What an incredible journey back in time. If you found these facts as fascinating as I did, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you never miss another trip into history. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.